Hello everyone, this is Scarzig and welcome back to another episode of Duelyst. Today we are playing more No Divine Bond Healynar, and after the new month came around and Blistering Scorn etc came out, the meta shifted just a little bit where people aren't playing too much Cassyva. And because of that, I felt it was a bit safer to start running a control variant of my Healynar deck. Before it was definitely a kind of a janky mid-range, but that was just so that I had a chance to close out games earlier, like during the mid-game and whatnot. This deck is based on a control Healynar list that was posted by Pylons, I think a couple days ago, that utilizes Pandora as a win condition. That list that he did post utilizes Divine Bond as well, but we are trying, just again as an experiment, to see what we can do without Divine Bond. And it's been going pretty good, considering once you get to the late game with all the healing in this deck, you're generally able to wear down your opponent, which is what this deck has been originally trying to do all along. And without Cassyva in the picture and without the Shadow Nova, this is a bit nicer for us. So enough rambling, let's get right into the deck list. We've got our 2 Aegis Barrier on deck, and we also have 2 Ephemeral Shroud, which I've been running over Sunbloom. You lose out on a bit of range, but your opponent very rarely is going to group up their units in such a way that you can get a lot of value off of Sunbloom. Ephemeral Shroud is really good for the 1 or 2 times you're going to need to silence something important, and what's good is you develop a body as well. It being an additional 2-drop comes in handy where you can hit it with Holy Immolation or something in a pinch. So that's really nice, and I have been enjoying it more than Sunbloom, which is, again, was something that was suggested by Pylons in his deck building guide. We have 3 Healing Mystic and 3 Light Chasers. Now, this card I was definitely iffy about. I might have touched on it on my last video, where Light Chasers are a bit... definitely a bit hit or miss. It's like a Chakri avatar that starts off with a higher attack value, but is harder to proc. In the mid-game, Light Chaser is easier to combo a lot of heals with, and then it becomes a monster. Every once in a while, your opponent might not be able to answer this properly, and it can really spiral out of control for you. So, in the absence of Divine Bond, Light Chaser becomes like a janky sort of win condition for us every once in a while. And even if you can't buff it, it being a 3-2 allows it to trade with most other 2-drops and give us some nice early game control. We do have 3 Windbladed Depths, of course, 2 Blistering Scorn. This gives the deck some much needed range. The 1 damage ping is great for taking out Heartseekers, Pyromancers, maybe finishing off Blood Tier Alchemists if you run into decks that are still using those. And the 1 damage ping, since it hits friendly units, allows you to turn your own units into healing targets. Sometimes they might not be able to trade into something and be left alive, and the Blistering Scorn allows you to get that extra heal proc for the Sunriser. We do have 2 Martyrdom here. You probably could squeeze in a 3rd one if you'd like, but for this deck I'm just running 2 Martyrdom and a Circle of Life for our removal. The Martyrdom you actually don't want to use too much. It's almost there just as an emergency, because if you have to use Martyrdom on something really huge that your opponent has put out, it's going to set you back a lot. So the Martyrdom is just there for emergencies. Every once in a while you can take out something huge if your opponent gets a really strong tempo play early game, and you can just take it out, and if it's early enough in the match where they haven't taken any damage, then you get to skip over the drawback, so to speak. So this is pretty decent. Like I said, you could get away with running 3 of these, I believe. We've got 3 Silverguard Knights, 2 Sojourners, which we need for card draw. Since we're playing a slower, more control-oriented deck, I've decided to put in a couple Sunseers. The minion healing your general is very nice. You being able to play this on 3 and then develop a Sunriser on 4 allows you a nice on-curve option for proccing the Sunriser. So this can really spiral out of control for you if you can set up the Sunseer well. This is one of those creatures that your opponent needs to answer, or it'll get too much value for you. A bit like 4 Winds Magi, Shadow Sister, those kind of units where your opponent wants to prioritize taking them down. We've got 2 Arclight Regalia, 2 Emerald Rejuvenators because it heals both generals. That's 2 heal procs in 1 card, and because we're aiming to win in the late game, healing our opponent isn't too bad. It's just the martyrdom, like I was saying before. Sometimes it can set you really far behind if your opponent has a really aggressive opening. But the Emerald Rejuvenator healing both is good because you can get 2 Sunriser procs, and if those procs hit the opponent, then the Emerald Rejuvenator's heal to them is cancelled out. So it's like a baby Holy Immolation combo if you can play both of these on turn 8, say. We've got the 3 Holy Immolation, of course, 2 Ironcliff Guardian, and 2 Pandora. If you don't have Pandora, you could definitely maybe stick in Dark Nemesis, Ruby Rifter, which the new card that just came out, if you might have that in your collection if you're just starting out. That's a decent late game option to give you some card draw and perhaps finish off your opponent. So let's go right in. I've only done some light testing with this deck because I didn't want to get too sucked up into it. I'm trying to get the perfect deck before I recorded it. I think it's important to just try to get the gameplays out there and make improvements on the fly as we need them. So starting off here, it looks like we'll just be able to develop the Sojourner on our first turn. We could and keeping the Ephemeral Shroud is definitely a good idea in this matchup because we might be able to place it near a 4 Winds Magi. That is definitely the key of this matchup, is taking down the 4 Winds Magi, because the opponent chaining all of those spells together, healing them, pinging you for damage is just, it's a really, really hard deficit to come back from. And we do have the Aegis Barrier, which is pretty interesting. I could play the Sojourner and hit it with Aegis Barrier, and that takes away the options of Phoenix Fire or Onyx Bear Seal to deal with it. He could be able to just cast Saberspine Seal on himself to buff his general to 5 attack and then just one-shot it. And perhaps drawing that out of him is a bit worth it, because playing the Sojourner up here is a bit risky because our opponent might be able to ramp really hard by taking that center mana. So I think we're just going to go ahead and make this play, where we're playing on curve, we're drawing an extra card, and if he decides that he wants to one-shot the Sojourner, then I guess we'll get another card out of the deal. And if he does go that route, he'll have to step 2 forward, play the Saberspine Seal, and then, you know, he only has 2 mana left to develop a 2-drop with. So this is pretty good for us. The Aegis Barrier does come in handy for the Songhai matchup, and I did want to hold on to the Emerald Rejuvenator as well because of their burn damage. I want to keep myself topped off because eventually Songhai is going to run out of gas. If they can't get you low before turn 8 to finish you off with Spiral Technique, then you're generally in pretty good shape. And here we go, being rewarded for playing the Ephemeral Shroud, holding that in our hands. I think I might want to... if I went for a replace here, and I got Holy Immolation, that probably would be a good idea because you see his hand is full. So I can actually just one-shot this Lantern Fox with the Arclight Regalia. And he's not going to draw Phoenix Fire off of that. Excellent, excellent. We'll go ahead and attack with the Sojourner. And then we get to fill up our hands. I think we'll throw the Light Chaser. Alright, excellent. And we actually have a really good spread right here in our hands. So if he wants to go ahead and attack the Sojourner to make me burn a card, I think that we pretty much have our core in our hands, so whatever he burns isn't going to hurt us too much. And luckily for us, we had the Arclight Regalia available so we can save the Ephemeral Shroud, so we can play that possibly on his next Lantern Fox, or maybe a 4 Winds Magi, which was the original target that I had intended for this creature. You can see here he's trying to make his way up towards this mana, but I'll be able to deny it next turn. Ooh, he burned a Holy Immolation. Pretty good, pretty good. And there's the 4 Winds Magi. Alright. Let's see. Now I can ramp up to 6. So I think that... Because if I could proc the Sunriser twice this turn, that would be really huge. But I don't think I have enough mana to do that, because I can heal the Sojourner with Afterglow to get one proc, but I'd like to get a second one to finish off the Four Winds Magi. And there's nothing in this deck that would... a Healing Mystic would work, but I wouldn't be able to ramp properly with this mana. So I think the proper play is just to Martyrdom this. If we Martyrdom that, what does that leave me with? I think that we'll do this. This is a bit risky. This is a bit overplaying our hand. But I do like this setup. We're going to move the Sojourner here to protect the Sunriser, because he can still attack the Ephemeral Shroud, and then the Four Winds Magi would be able to move forward and trade into the Sunriser. So this allows us to dispel the Four Winds Magi and protect the Sunriser. We played it here so that we could ramp into the Ephemeral Shroud, and getting the Sunriser on the board is a risky play when you don't combo into it immediately, but having it out on the board rewards you with so much value because you have a lot more mana to spend proccing it each turn. Onyx Bear Seal? Okay, that's fine. But he'll have to use them eventually, so might as well get it out of the way now. Holy Immolation would be really good here, actually. I could Martyrdom the Lantern Fox, and it doesn't count as him taking damage, so he wouldn't draw any Phoenix Fires off of it. But I also wouldn't be able to finish off... Actually, and then I could finish off the Four Winds Magi because my Arclight Regalia has survived. Normally the pings from the Four Winds Magi make Arclight Regalia really, really useless in this matchup. And I am at 6 mana, so I suppose I could develop the Sunseer. Yeah, I think that that's our best bet right now. And we've got a really good spread in our hands. Blistering Scorn to take out the Heartseeker whenever he decides to develop that. Yeah, so we'll do that. Take this thing out. Do I want to develop the Sunseer? Or the Windblade Adept? Let's get the, yeah, let's get the Sunseer out there. We'll keep our General topped off. And if we can replace into another Sunriser, then we have the unit that can proc it available on the board. We're starting to get into the higher manas, so once I get Pandoras and whatnot, I'll probably start playing those. I'm going to hold on to this Aegis Barrier, so I can do Pandora Aegis Barrier, and it being unable to be transformed with the Onyx Bear Seal is basically going to make it auto-win the game for us, in my opinion. Phoenix Fire onto the General to eat the first proc of the Arclight Regalia. 2 Phoenix Fires. Takes out the Arclight Regalia, and then the Chakri Avatar is buffed. Doesn't have Inner Focus, though, so it looks like I might be able to kill it this turn. So let's... I could just play the Emerald Rejuvenator, but I think I want to get my hands on a Holy Immolation if possible. Circle of Life. I think that kind of works out for us. I feel like there would be better targets in the future. Yeah, so let's do this. We'll just take out this Chakri Avatar now. The Sunseer survives. So we're going to heal it. That way it lives in order to provide us with more value. And then we will slam down the Emerald Rejuvenator. I was hoping to save that for a combo with Sunriser, but I think that doing it this way allows us to just keep ourselves topped off like I was talking about before. Playing against Spell Riva is definitely one of the harder matchups for this deck, in my opinion. Usually she gets rolling before you can get your heals up. Fortunately for us, we were able to properly deal with the Lantern Foxes and the Four Winds Magi. So she hasn't gotten so much value out of those. Ooh, interesting play here. Killing the Emerald Rejuvenator instead of one-shotting the Sunseer. Now I'm going to be able to proc this more to heal my General. I think that that was definitely a misplay. And once again, I'm sort of hoping for the Holy Immolation. Blistering Scorn. That does allow us to take out this. I won't be able to heal the Sunseer, which is a bit unfortunate. But I suppose, since we got it, we might as well use it. We'll drop the Ironcliff Guardian with the Aegis Barrier instead. And since we do have the board advantage, we're going to go ahead and... Okay, yeah, so she quit. I probably could have done that play a turn or two earlier, because once you get the Aegis Barrier onto a big unit like that, the Songhai matchup, that's pretty much the key. They're going to try to set up and burn you out early, but if you can get the Ironcliff Aegis Barrier set up on them, they usually can't deal with it, because Onyx Bear Seal is their only out against large targets. Just like if this deck isn't able to Martyrdom something big, you have to jump through a lot of hoops with Sunriser procs and all that jazz. So we do have a 2-drop. Ephemeral Shroud isn't super useful in this matchup. If it was Kara, it might be, but against Fae, it's not that big a deal, so I think we can chuck that. Having Ironcliff isn't that great in this matchup either, because even if you hit it with Aegis Barrier, the Chromatic Cold kills it. So I guess we'll hold on to it, because you never know. Maybe we can catch him with his pants down. And we'll open the battle log over here for you nice folks, just in case you happen to miss an interaction or something. Crystal Cloaker. Alright, cool. I'll be able to move forward. Okay, never mind. I was going to say I'll just move forward and kill this Crystal Cloaker. Holy Immolation doesn't work for us here either, because this is actually really good positioning here to keep the Healing Mystic away from this one. Because if I just go down, Holy Immolation doesn't do anything. I can play the Silverguard Knight here, and then attack. And then that keeps him locked down for a turn, and then I take out one of the Crystal Cloakers. So I think that might be the best bet. We get punished by Chromatic Cold, like I was talking about earlier. And Silverguard Knight is like one of the worst things to get hit with Chromatic Cold for sure, because it just becomes a 1/3 and doesn't do jack. But if we can get him to waste 2 mana, I think it'd be really good for us here. Even if he has the Cryogenesis, he'll still need to hit it with something. Okay, Frostfire. Now, Frostfire is actually pretty good. It wasn't getting a lot of play back in the day, but if you're able to combo it with a Crystal Cloaker or something along those lines, it actually gets you a lot of value. It's hard to trade into. And it looks like he's going to float that 2 mana, so that's actually pretty good for us. Or no. Okay. Excellent. So, fortunately for us, our opponent has not played around Holy Immolation properly. So we get to Holy Immo, and we're going to step here to block him off from this mana. And we are going to leave the Healing Mystic healthy. One key thing here too is I'm playing around Warbird also by moving into this step. That's one thing that a lot of people usually forget, is to play around Warbird. This is the only this is like the only Bloodborne spell that's more effective based on your opponent's positioning. So I think that a lot of players haven't gotten into the habit of playing around it yet. You get the Wings of Paradise. If you don't deal with that, it's going to hit you for 5 damage. It's really rough. Ooh. Let me see. Sunriser. We can't get 2 procs. Or can we? If I move forward here, move up, no. Because I can't step onto this mana tile. So I think we're just going to have to play the Ironcliff Guardian and go from there. Because then healing the Ironcliff Guardian becomes a proc. Because if I was able to proc it twice, I'd get the just kill the Wings of Paradise. So like I said, it's a baby holy immolation when you're able to do that. So he's only got 3 cards in hand, and if he had Chromatic Cold, he would have played it on the Silverguard Knight. So I think that the Ironcliff Guardian is actually a bit safer for us. And I think what I actually want to do is step up and away so that I am able to walk onto that mana tile next turn. And frankly, even if he dispels this, gets the 5 damage off of the Wings of Paradise, he's still in the corner with a bunch of my minions just... Oh, and you're going to get the mana tile, you cheeky bastard. Yeah, that's the thing, is it still hangs out as a 5/1, and then you have to find a way to deal 1 damage to something. So this is the face deck. Fortunately for us, we get our free Sunriser proc off of the Ironcliff Guardian. Ooh. Okay, now you're just being rude. So I was hoping to hit him with it, but we're going to have to take out the Flameblood Warlock for sure. Looks like we can get 2 procs as well, which is pretty cool. But anyway, we'll step back, play the Sunriser, have the Ironcliff hit, and then we'll heal ourselves. Alright. Now we've got the Pandora to drop next turn if possible. He's only got 2 cards in hand, so bursting this down for 11 is possible when you're going up against Vanar for sure. But as it stands right now, that's not going to be the case since he only has 2 cards. And we are on a timer here now because Warbird is going to start becoming available. Throw the Light Chaser. Now if I take 3... Okay. Let's do that. We'll take out the Primus Fist. And then we'll just play the Emerald Rejuvenator and the Sunseer. Because I have the advantage going here into the late game, and if he's not able to, start bursting me down, then I'll just slowly out-heal everything he's got, and we'll just kind of whittle him down. Now that he's backing off, I could actually probably play Pandora. Yeah, I think that that is going to be the play. We're going to heal ourselves. We'll Afterglow the Ironcliff Guardian so that it survives the Void Hunter hit. Then the Emerald Rejuvenator gets to come in. We'll develop the Pandora, and we're just going to walk away. Now, the reason we play Pandora right in his face is because there is a chance it could get hit with Chromatic Cold or Aspect of the Fox, and that way we'll still have the body in lethal range if he is able to dispel it or something. In another matchup where you know your opponent isn't going to have any like spells necessarily to deal with Pandora, you can just play it at range and then wait for the celerity and ranged foxes to start spawning for you to kill it. There's also the off chance that we get the Provoke Wolf near him and it locks him down even harder. But 12 damage is pretty safe against them. Saberspine Tiger, Frost Fire. Yeah, see, it's not enough damage. See, that's rough right there. That Saberspine Tiger was going to come at me if he had, like, another buff card. Gee whiz. See, I thought I was safe. Again, 12 HP is usually, like, the break point for a lot of decks, especially an aggressive Fey deck like that, so... The key there was playing the units as best as I could to block him in. I probably could have played the Pandora above him, so it was more of a wall. And I did back off. I was like, I'm going to let my units take care of you, and then just backed off. So, you have to, even when your opponent's cornered, you still have to respect them a little bit. Because this game is all about the burst. Once you get into those high manas, you're just able to burst people out. We're going to chuck the Emerald Rejuvenators, I think. Or actually, no, we should chuck Pandora because we of course have such a low chance of playing that. And we'll just throw one Emerald Rejuvenator. Pandora, I do have 2 copies in this deck, so it's important to have one once the time comes to play it. Versus Lyonar. Typically, the only way they're going to be able to deal with Pandora is to Martyrdom it. And if they give you 10 HP, especially since we're a control deck, I can just play my second Pandora and then just run from there. Oh, man, that's rough. Ugh, no Silverguard Knight, no Sojourner. So I guess we're just going to have to... This is the I have a really shitty play going second movement pattern here, where you move up into the corner, play your 2-drop. And since he developed the Windblade Adept, we have to play the Healing Mystic somewhere out of the way where it's not going to get one-shot. It even looks like here that he's going to try to take it slow and greed this mana. Okay, so there's the Azurite Lion. Crikey. So we do have 4. Developing the Emerald Rejuvenator isn't very good because Windblade Adept trades into it for free. Holding what I have now is actually pretty cool. So I think what I'll do is just develop the Arclight Regalia and kill the Azurite Lion before it becomes a problem. Unfortunately, he basically gets all the mana because of the this movement pattern that I'm forced to take, and so things are going to get pretty weird. And I guess we'll move the Healing Mystic out of that corner. Get it in a more battle-ready position, I guess you could say. Oh, Zenrui. That's not nice. Okay. Okay, so what is at least nice about the situation is I do have the Arclight Regalia 1 proc left, so I can kill that Healing Mystic, that traitorous Healing Mystic, still keep the last proc, and then we're going to develop the Ironcliff Guardian. We'll see how he deals with that. Without Divine Bond, this isn't like going to be the game-changing, like game-winning play that I'd like it to be, but at the very least, Zenrui might have to trade into it, and then I can just heal it up and keep him locked down. That is, that's the hope at least. And if he's not able to deal with this efficiently, I might be able to keep my Arclight Regalia and start pounding on his general. Because your general only has 2 base attack, Arclight Regalia's effect to negate the first 2 damage you take each turn just lets you hit the enemy general for free. Very rarely are you going to get that opportunity to just wail on their general and they can't deal with it, but we'll see what happens. He's thinking about casting Roar on the Zenrui. If he buffs this up to 6, he still has to find 2 more damage to kill the Ironcliff, so... Oh, Holy Immolation. Okay, that'll do it. Takes out the Arclight Regalia, too. Fortunately for me, we're pretty much able to take up his whole turn with that, and that actually sets us up in a pretty good spot. And we have our own Holy Immolation, which is really beautiful. I think we'll go ahead and summon the Ironcliff Guardian here. And do we want to attack? No. We want to keep our HP up because we are the control in this matchup. And we are currently at an HP deficit regardless. So we'll see how he deals with this now. Now that he doesn't have a body on the field. He can do 2-drop Holy Immolation again. Oh, he's just going to drop his own. Okay. So, I am at 7. I can't ramp to 8. That's really unfortunate. But we can attack, play the Sunrise or heal, and then that drops it down to 5. So I can, let me see, so that's 4, 5, 6, 7. And I can play the Light Chaser so that it gets to benefit from that heal proc. So that's pretty decent for us. And it allows us to whittle down the Ironcliff Guardian so that it doesn't become such an attractive Divine Bond target. Let me see. So if he has double Divine Bond, that's 10, that's still 13. So I think we're going to attack here. I still take the same amount of damage if it's a regular Divine Bond, but less damage against double Divine Bond. He still needs to find a way to deal with my Ironcliff Guardian as well. Me hitting it with the General means that if he slaps his Ironcliff Guardian into mine, it'll still die. So that's really good for us. He's probably going to be forced here to cast Roar on it, and then find some more damage here. This setup that I have right now is the way that this deck wants to start comboing and spiraling out of control. Sunbloom. Okay. Not bad, not bad. So he is able to bypass the Ironcliff Guardian. See, now I think that that's a bad idea because he already dispelled the Sunriser. So he probably should have wanted to do the same thing I did and soften up the Ironcliff Guardian. Developing the Sojourner is pretty nice, but since he has Arclight Regalia, that is not going to be such a good option for us. Let's chuck the Emerald Rejuve. I think I might need a Holy Immolation here. Because Sojourner and Sunseeker both aren't very good when there's an Arclight Regalia up. If I attack him, with the Ironcliff Guardian. He'll eat that first one. I'll take 4 and drop down to 10. Then Saber Spine plus Roar is 5. Man, I'm thinking. Calm down. So, I think that is the proper way that we're going to do this. And we're gonna take that mana away from him. I don't want him to have that. So we do have a really good board advantage here. Having another Sunriser would have been really good to tie this hand together. Not bad, not bad. We do have 2-drop Holy Immolation available. Hit that thing. And the smart thing to do here, I guess, would just be to hit him. That way I'm threatening like lethal super duper hard next turn. I probably could have not hit him because I had 3, 4, 5, but if he's got like a Tempest or something, that cancels out a lot of my damage, so this kind of just puts him closer and closer getting killed. Since I'm at 16, against Lyonar, it's really hard for them to burst you in one turn. Usually they have to set up the 2-turn lethal with a Divine Bond target. Okay, so there's Saber Spine. He's making a break for it. Oh, Owlbeast Sage. That's not good. So I do have Circle of Life. Yeah, well, Circle of Life. That heals me for 5, so that makes me like a huge threat. We'll have the Sunseer sacrifice itself to the Owlbeast Sage. And then we can just continue on our merry way. Sojourner's going to draw us a card. The minion is very good for us. Silverguard Knight, beautiful. Then we get to attack with the Healing Mystic, and then heal it back up. Whew. Alright, so this deck is, that's exactly what we want this deck to do. It's just wear down the opponent. Fortunately for us, we were able to deal with this Ironcliff Guardian properly, and he was not able to deal with ours properly. And I think that's really the key to the matchup. So we managed to get to rank 9. Whew. Alright, so shout out to Pylons for inspiration for this control-oriented heal deck. This was a vein that I was going down originally with this idea with no Divine Bond, but with Cassyva in the meta last month when I was in High Diamond, it was so hard, and like I had to start cutting a lot of stuff out. And also I was trying to make Grandmaster Zir work, and I think it's obvious that Pandora is a much stronger choice. The only thing I don't like about Pandora is that it is extraordinarily weak to Plasma Storm. And Magmar currently is creeping around, and every once in a while you'll run into a control variant that's running Natural Selection and Plasma Storm and stuff like that. So, thank you for stopping by, and I will see you next time. You have a good one. And, oh, actually, before I forget, one more thing. Counterplay recently added a new thing to the chat where you can actually send your replays to friends of yours. So what I would like to do is start reviewing your replays. So go ahead and add me on Duelyst. Just add me right to your friends list. Hit me up when you see me in-game. Send me that replay so that I can review it. I can add it to my channel. That way you get more personalized casting for your games. I can point out, maybe some misplays here and there. You'll get some nice advice. And it gives me practice reviewing replays as well. So I think that would be really something nice to do for the community and really help with my channel as well. So if you guys want to participate, then just go ahead and send me those replays. So I think that is everything I wanted to say, and you have a good one.